Well, first things first, thank you guys so much, everyone who came out, showing me a lot of love. Awesome. Players fuck up. I mean, I was on an 8-fight win streak. Felt like things were going smooth until I got hit with a shot. Shit happens. It's part of the game. It took 6 years for someone to finally beat me. I'll be back.
Welcome back, fight fans. Something just detonated in the MMA world, and the aftershock hasn't settled. After an explosive knockout by Sean Strickland, the entire landscape feels unstable, like one punch shifted more than just rankings. The MMA community isn't just reacting, it's scrambling to understand what really happened. Strickland's dominant destruction of Anthony "Fluffy" Hernandez didn't just end a fight, it silenced a building and ignited a storm of questions no one can ignore. Fans are divided between awe and disbelief. Fighters are watching closer than ever. Analysts are replaying the finish frame by frame, searching for the moment it all slipped away. Because this wasn't supposed to unfold like that. Hernandez came in prepared, durable, dangerous, and yet in a blink, it was over. One opening, one brutal exchange, one statement that echoed far beyond the cage. But here's where it gets interesting. Was this simply a spectacular knockout, or was it a warning shot to the entire division? Strickland looked sharper, colder, almost calculated in a way we haven't seen before. And when a fighter evolves overnight, it usually means something bigger is coming. The question now isn't whether he won, it's what he unlocked. Did this victory just fast-track him into title contention, or did it expose new rivalries waiting to explode? There's momentum building, pressure mounting, and eyes turning toward matchups that suddenly feel inevitable. So what does this mean for his future? Let's break it down before the next shockwave hits. Sean Strickland's recent victory wasn't just another win added to the record, it felt like a line drawn in the sand. For years he's been labeled loud, reckless, unpredictable, the kind of fighter whose brash personality dominates headlines before his fists ever do. But beneath the noise, beneath the controversy, there's a detail too many people keep overlooking. He is a world-class middleweight, and nights like this force everyone to remember it. Critics have long questioned his unorthodox approach, the awkward rhythm, the constant pressure, the almost taunting composure that dares opponents to make the first mistake. They call it sloppy, risky, unsustainable. Yet somehow, when the cage door shuts, that chaos sharpens into something calculated. Against Hernandez, it wasn't just pressure, it was patience disguised as aggression. Every feint carried intention, every step closed a trap. And then it happened. One clean connection, sudden and violent, turning confidence into collapse in a split second. The knockout didn't just end the fight, it silenced a narrative that had been building against him. For a moment, all the doubts evaporated under the weight of that finish. Because whatever you think about his style, whatever you say about his personality, the danger is real, tangible, immediate. His KO of Hernandez wasn't luck, and it wasn't random. It was a reminder, sharp, brutal, impossible to ignore, that overlooking Sean Strickland comes with consequences no one wants to experience twice.
You know, a lot of people talk about Strickland, the things he says and stuff like that, but I think a lot of times people forget he's actually world class in this division, and I thought tonight his performance was unbelievable. What did you think of Sean and his performance tonight?
Yeah, he was in great shape tonight. Looked good, sharp, and got the job done.
Were you expecting more wrestling from Fluffy? It seemed like he had some success on the feet and wanted to keep it there. Were you expecting him to maybe mix it up a bit more?
I don't know what I was expecting. You know, if you bet $300,000 on Strickland tonight, you won $1 million. A couple people did it on Polymarket, and so you know, I don't think a lot of people expected Strickland to look as good as he did tonight.
You have obviously made the case for the Khamzat fight. I feel like it's probably one of the biggest fights in the division.
Yeah, no, I mean, nobody who wants to see two little go at it. You want to see a real American fight this little Chechen in American soil. This is the fight that needs to happen.
I know the answer to this, but right, when you look at Strickland and what comes next to him, you know, he's calling for a Khamzat fight, stuff like that. There's no, like, what he says during media day and things like that. That doesn't affect your booking of him, right? You are still happy to put him in those?
It's a nightmare. But you guys don't help. Asking them dumb shit, you know, ask dumb shit, you're going to get dumb shit. What'd you think of Bad Bunny? What'd you think of the Super Bowl? Get out of here.
UFC President Dana White didn't hesitate when the cameras found him. He was quick to praise Strickland's performance, and the tone said more than the words. He pointed out that Strickland was in phenomenal shape tonight, sharper than ever, composed in the chaos, and when the moment came, he got the job done without hesitation. But it wasn't just a routine compliment from the boss, it sounded like acknowledgement of something shifting beneath the surface. Dana emphasized how dangerous Strickland becomes when he starts blending that awkward, snapping jab with suffocating, relentless pressure that never really gives opponents a second to think. It's not just striking, it's a layered assault that builds round by round, forcing mistakes out of even the most disciplined fighters. According to Dana, that unpredictability is what turns him into a difficult puzzle for anyone in the division to solve. You prepare for volume, but then the power shows up. You brace for pressure, but then the timing disrupts everything. It creates hesitation, and hesitation inside that cage is fatal. What stood out most was the certainty in Dana's voice, almost as if this wasn't just praise for a single performance but recognition of a contender hitting a dangerous stride at exactly the right time. Because when the UFC president starts highlighting your evolution this clearly, it usually means bigger conversations are already happening behind closed doors.
I'm just happy, dude. Like, it's my job. I love it. Like I said, I can't tell you how many times I've been in that blue room where Fluffy is, my head down, having to go see my family and some piece of shit. It's like, I understand the duality of it. I understand what it's like to win and lose, so it feels good, but in the same time, there's another man that's going home, you know, feeling like the biggest piece of shit, so happy and sad at the same time.
Their fight opened with Strickland immediately seizing control of the tempo, dictating every exchange before Hernandez could fully settle in. From the first minute, that signature jab began to snap out like a warning shot, not flashy, not wild, just precise and persistent, quietly dismantling Hernandez piece by piece. It didn't look dramatic at first, and that's exactly why it's so dangerous. Strickland's jab remains one of the most underappreciated weapons in the division, almost hiding in plain sight while doing irreversible damage. Each connection disrupted rhythm, blurred vision, forced resets. You could see Hernandez trying to adjust, trying to time something big, but the space kept shrinking. The breathing changed, the urgency crept in. Dana White summed it up bluntly afterward, saying, "It's powerful and sets up everything else." He's very calculated in how he works his opponent, slowly chipping away at them. And that's the unsettling part. It's not rushed chaos, it's methodical erosion. The jab isn't just scoring points, it's planting doubt, building traps that don't reveal themselves until it's too late. Every touch paved the way for something heavier, something waiting behind it. By the time the real damage unfolded, the foundation had already been laid. What looked simple was anything but. It was strategy disguised as repetition, patience masked as pressure, and once Hernandez realized what was happening, the momentum had already slipped beyond recovery.
Strickland taking on Alexander Fluffy Hernandez in a very pivotal matchup in the middleweight division. You gotta think that whoever wins this has got to be getting close to fighting Khamzat Chimaev for the middleweight strap. Certainly Fluffy, because the man is on an 8-fight win streak and he's seemingly only getting better with every single outing. On the other side, we've got Sean Strickland, of course, the former champion that took the belt from Israel Adesanya in shocking fashion. I mean, in the first round, he put it on Israel, almost finished him, and then out-edged him, out-pointed him, out-boxed him, out-struck him. He shocked the world, but he got the job done, and he became the middleweight champion, but he lost it against Dricus du Plessis. And then, of course, after beating Paulo Costa and looking really good, dropping Paulo Costa in the first round, in the second round, in a 5-round affair, in a co-main event, right? Sean Strickland fights nothing but 5-round fights, by the way. He got another shot against Dricus du Plessis, and of course he came up short in that one. Now, his coach, Eric Nixig, felt like he didn't really go out there and leave it all inside the octagon.
I think he needs a value.
On the other hand, Hernandez wasn't completely absent from the battle. He had flashes, especially when he found brief success on the feet, landing clean enough to remind everyone he was still a threat. For a moment, you could feel the tension shift, like maybe this was where momentum would turn. But it never fully materialized. Many expected him to lean heavily on his wrestling, to change levels, to test Strickland in deeper waters where pressure could be neutralized. Instead, he chose to remain in the stand-up exchanges, playing a dangerous game inch by inch. That decision raised eyebrows almost immediately. Even Ultimate Fighting Championship analyst Michael Bisping couldn't hide his surprise, admitting, "I'm surprised we didn't see more wrestling from Fluffy." And that sentiment echoed across the broadcast. Hernandez did have moments on the feet, sharp counters, quick combinations that briefly pierced through the guard, but moments aren't enough when the pressure never stops building. Every time he seemed ready to establish something, Strickland stepped forward again, closing space, forcing exchanges, denying resets. The longer it stayed standing, the more the tide leaned in one direction. Wrestling might have changed the rhythm, maybe even disrupted the forward march, but as the seconds slipped away, that adjustment never came. And against a fighter who thrives on suffocating momentum, hesitation becomes its own undoing. By the time Hernandez realized the storm wasn't passing, it was already swallowing him whole.
And they had had a bit of a public fallout, a bit of a dispute or whatever.
And he's going to continue to be a friend of mine. Will he probably be in my corner? Probably not.
But it's all good in the hood. They are brothers and they got thick skin. And Sean Strickland certainly likes to talk a bit of shit, and he's been talking a lot about Khamzat Chimaev. He feels he is the only person to beat him.
I think I'm probably the only one that could beat Chimaev.
Anyway, I talked about that a few days ago. We're not going to get into all of that. I was with Khamzat a couple of days ago. I did an episode of the Jackson podcast. He was there with the whole Chechen mafia. He said that you're terrible for the division and he's the only guy out there to beat you.
We did spar a lot before, but that's why he's so mad.
I am telling you, Khamzat is the team leader. He's got a little team of crazy talented Chechens. Guys that, by the way, said this real Hunter guy choked out Sean Strickland multiple times. I asked Khamzat, he said that he choked out Strickland multiple times, but Strickland still feels that he's the only one to beat him. But all these guys, these Chechens, they look up to Khamzat Chimaev because he is the team leader and he's down there at the Jackson Studios, the Santos Studios, pardon me. He's doing his camp already. He's not doing a camp for a training camp. He's doing a pre-camp. I asked him who's the next person. Who's it going to be? Is it Imavov?
Strickland's victory didn't just echo through the arena. It rippled across the entire roster, catching the attention of fighters who know exactly how hard it is to deliver under that kind of spotlight. Messages started surfacing, reactions pouring in, and one voice in particular carried weight. Chris Weidman, the former Ultimate Fighting Championship middleweight champion, didn't hesitate to give credit where it was due. Strickland's performance was incredible, he said, and it didn't sound like casual praise. He pointed out how sharp Strickland looked from the opening bell, how every movement felt intentional, every strike measured. More importantly, Weidman highlighted something that often separates contenders from champions: cardio under pressure. According to him, Strickland's gas tank was flawless, steady and unwavering even as the exchanges intensified. But beyond conditioning, there was something else he emphasized: heart. The kind that doesn't fade when the lights get brighter. The kind that shows up when momentum shifts and doubt creeps in. Weidman made it clear he believes Strickland has both the heart and the skill to go all their way. And when a former champion says that, it's not hype, it's recognition. Because fighters see details others miss. They recognize timing, composure, the subtle adjustments mid-fight. The question now isn't whether Strickland impressed his peers. He did. The real question is whether this was the night he convinced them he's not just circling the top, but closing in on something much bigger.
We don't know. He wouldn't say. He's staying very, very tight-lipped about the whole situation. His last fight, after all, was August 2025. It's time to get back in there and Fluffy versus Strickland. The winner of this fight could be the next one. Now, the first thing when you talk about Fluffy and Sean Strickland, it is the level of competition that they have faced. Sure, Fluffy, who is getting better, who put an absolute beat down on Roman Dolidze before he got the stoppage in the 4th round. I am telling you, he beat him up. He beat him on the feet. He took him down. He let him up. He took him down. He almost choked him out. It was a very, very tough night and a very violent performance by Fluffy Hernandez. But when we look at the competition, it's Roman Dolidze, and by the way, these are all good wins. I am not taking away from Fluffy here. They are tremendous wins, and an 8-fight win streak, very hard to do. I never had an 8-fight win streak in the UFC. So, Roman Dolidze, Brendan Allen, Michel Pereira, Roman Kopylov, Edmund Shabazian, Marc-Andre Barrios, Rodolfo Vieira, and Josh Fremd. They are all tough opponents, and certainly Kopylov, Pereira, Brendan Allen and Roman Dolidze, they are not a walk in the park for anybody.
But it wasn't just Strickland's striking that left people talking long after the final horn. It was what happened in the quieter, more desperate moments that truly shifted the fight. When Hernandez tested the waters and managed to bring the fight to the mat, there was a split second where the narrative could have changed. This was supposed to be the path, the grind, the equalizer. Yet every time Strickland hit the canvas, he treated it like a temporary inconvenience rather than a setback. His takedown defense wasn't flawless, but his refusal to stay grounded was. The urgency in his scrambles, the calm in the chaos, the way he created space inch by inch before exploding back to his feet, it drained hope in real time. You could almost feel the frustration building on the other side. That resilience became a turning point, not just physically but mentally. Even Michael Bisping highlighted it during the breakdown. Warning, if you can't take Strickland down and keep him down, you're in for a long night. His scrambles and get-ups are phenomenal. And that's the hidden layer of the puzzle. It's not enough to ground him. You have to trap him there. Otherwise, every failed attempt taxes your energy while he resets and marches forward again. By the time opponents realize the effort isn't paying off, the pressure is already back in their face, and the clock suddenly feels much longer than expected.
When you compare it to the resume of Sean Strickland, that, as I say, has been fighting in almost exclusively 5-round fights, so he's got the cardio because the man spars all the time, okay? He's out there beating up streamers left, right and centre, knocking out sparring partners, whether it's Sneeko, whether it's Nico, money on whoever these guys are, right? He loves to beat up a good sparring partner, whether it's at the PI or at the Syndicate MMA in Las Vegas. He loves to spar, he loves to fight, and that is the best way to prepare for a fight. It really is. If you want to get good at tennis, play tennis. If you want to get better at swimming, you practice swimming. If you want to get better at fighting and not get tired whilst fighting, you gotta fight, you gotta spar, you gotta replicate the situation. You have to train like you're going to fight. Because if you don't train like that, if you're gonna go out there in a fight and swing for the fences and try and knock your opponent out, but in the gym, you're all tippy-tappy, you're gonna get tired. So you gotta train the way that you're gonna fight. Now, let's talk about the opponents of Sean Strickland. And don't worry, we're going to get into all the stats, the figures, the breakdowns, the numbers, the percentages, and I'm going to give you some keys to victory for both men and some interesting facts. Now, first of all, the opponents: Dricus du Plessis, Paulo Costa, Dricus du Plessis, Israel Adesanya, Abus Magomedov, Nasruddin Imavov, who is the #1 contender right now, Jared Cannonier, who's fought for a belt before, and Alex Pereira. They're the last 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 9 fights of Sean Strickland. That is crazy. And before that, it was Jack Hermansson, Uriah Hall, Christoph Jotko, Brendan Allen, Jack Marshman, that he just talked shit to the entirety of the fight whilst piecing him up on the feet. That is a crazy run. Pereira, Cannonier, Imavov, Abus Magomedov, Israel Adesanya.
As their fight stretched deeper, something even more revealing began to surface. Strickland's mental toughness wasn't just intact, it was imposing. When Hernandez managed to land a few clean shots, the kind that usually force a reset or at least a visible reaction, Strickland didn't blink. No panic, no retreat, not even a flicker of doubt across his expression. He absorbed the impact, recalibrated in real time, and stepped forward again as if nothing had changed. That composure wasn't accidental, it felt weaponized. The longer the exchanges lasted, the clearer it became that this was more than physical durability. It was psychological positioning. He stayed calm, measured, almost cold, refusing to give Hernandez the satisfaction of momentum. And in a fight where confidence can swing wildly from second to second, that steadiness started to tilt the balance. This is the hidden edge that makes Strickland so dangerous. It's not just the jab or the pressure, it's the mind games unfolding between every strike. He understands how to plant seeds of frustration, how to make opponents question their timing, their strategy, even their preparation. Every time Hernandez thought he'd found an opening, Strickland's unshaken demeanor erased it. Over time, that kind of resistance becomes suffocating, because before their body starts to wear down, the belief does. And once a fighter begins to feel like nothing is working, the physical unraveling usually follows right behind it.